Welcome back, everyone. Good to see you all this Friday morning. We are going to be doing our morning algorithm this morning, and then we're going to be doing our bootstrap demo with Narciso here in this Zoom room, okay? So we have a special lecture with Narciso today, and in the afternoon, I'll be going over media queries. Okay, just wanted to let you guys know in case Narciso doesn't mention it. Right, yesterday we went over terminal and git. We went over this in lots of detail. I spent a whole hour on terminal and John spent a whole hour on git. Usually I spend an hour covering both. Since we were able to split up the lecture material, we were able to cover more. Okay, so you guys have that stuff there. You can rewatch it in case you are interested in learning more about APIs. He also gave a really in-depth lecture on APIs, more in-depth than I usually go. So there's lots to watch and study there, okay? But let's go ahead and get into the morning algorithm since we're already a couple minutes in, all right? So let's go ahead and look at the platform. Today, if you go to week 2, day 5, you should see some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code for you to go ahead and copy and paste into some files. So we're going to be working with HTML and CSS in today's JavaScript session. Okay, so let's look at let's not worry about what it does yet. Okay, I want you to see the final end goal product. Okay, let's see the final product and then see how we can get there from here. Okay, so this is where I want you guys to be. Okay, I want you guys to be able to click a place and it should tell me the sum of the squares surrounding it. So I'm getting the sum of this one, this one, this one, this one, excluding the center, all right? And then the one here, here, and here. Okay, I want the sum of wherever I click of all the surrounding squares. Okay, so if I click here, for example, I want all the surrounding squares. So I want this one, this one, this one, this one, skip the middle, and then all these here. So 9 squares, I want the sum of it whenever I click that centerpiece. Okay, let's look at how this is organized. So I have my JavaScript here. Let me pull this to the right. Ooh, is that the right JavaScript? No, it's not. Excuse me. Okay, so let me just close everything. Okay, make sure I have the right one. Okay, there it is. All right, and there we are. Okay, so if you look at this JavaScript, what you'll notice is that we're working with a nested array, a 2D array, just like we did yesterday. No different than yesterday. And we have rows and we have columns, right? When we want an index value, we are selecting the position, the X and Y coordinate, the row, and then the column, right? So we say the row first, right? Because that's the index, that is the first layer of index of the dojo array, right? Because this is the index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2, all right? And then once we enter this index, then we'll have new index values to access because we're in an array within an array, okay? So we're working with nested arrays. And this morning's Algo challenge is kind of difficult, so don't worry if you don't complete it, but it's meant to be extremely difficult to push you to that point of, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get it or not, but it's really fun once you do get it, okay? Let me show you how this works. So we have a function that is supposed to render, okay? It receives the result. It receives the result. Well, we have a var called result. And then we add here in a for loop, in a nested for loop to the result. We're adding a button class and it takes in that index at I and index at J, okay? So index at I and index at J, it adds a button to each XY coordinate. Okay, in this case, I and J coordinate, right? Because I is the row and J is the column. So when I click a point on I and J, it adds a button. And then that button, what I want is for you guys to take this code here, okay, function how many, and it receives I and J. So you can see here, this is a nested for loop already, right? This is a nested for loop, a for loop within a for loop to create the buttons. All right, what now you want to do is receive I and J. You want to receive that position that we're clicking in our array, and also the element, okay? So the element is, for example, let's look at that function. Let's look at, sorry, here. Let's look at our HTML and see what our element receives. So when we click how many, we are, let's see, where is this function triggered? So we want to see where is this function originally triggered. So if I do how many, there it is. So there's 3 places, 1, 2, okay, 3. It's just the description. Okay, so on click of this button, we trigger this function, and the on click is in the button class itself, created in the JavaScript. Okay, so this for loop adds a button to each ij value, ij coordinate, and then when we click that button, we trigger this how many function, which receives that I and j coordinate, and then also receives this. So that function that you click, it passes in this, we receive that element, and then here is where we want to determine how many ninjas are hiding in the adjacent squares. Okay, so this is where we want to work in this how many function, because this function should return to here. Okay, this function, you should be able to determine and figure out the surrounding values. Okay, so I'll give you guys a hint. There's a couple ways to do this. You guys have any thoughts on some possible ways to approach this before I give some hints? What are the 2 pillars of programming that I introduced in Java in programming basics? I tried to say that all programming languages come down to these 2 fundamental tools as developers. There's if statements and for loops. Those are your tools, okay? So how could you find, if I select this square here, right? That means I would have clicked this 2 in the middle. How would you find the surrounding values based on this coordinate? How can you search above, around, below? What's a way that we can access the values in this square? Right? So we know where this position I and j are, right? So this, what is this coordinate here? This would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. All right, so that's 4, and then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this xy coordinate is 4, 4, and then 5, right? So what's this coordinate in relation to that selection, the one on the top left corner? In relation to this I and j. So this is I and this is j. So this, what is that top left corner position in relation?
4.
It would be maybe
3.
I minus 1, right? I minus 1, that would bring us up 1 level, and j minus 1, right? That would be up 1, and then j minus 1, that would be, so if y is the row here, so I minus 1 would be up this row, and j minus 1, j is the column, so j would be to the left 1. All right, so that's how we would check that position, just given the I and j coordinates. Okay, So if I can find that one just by looking in relation to what I and j is here, then I would find out, okay, this one is just right above it would be I minus 1, and then the same value at j. It's in the same column, right? So same j value, but I minus 1. So I can check all these values to see what they are, all 9 values. How can I check? How can I read through those? There's a couple ways. We can use if statements using the exact coordinates, or we can use a for loop to loop through that little square that I would have created. How can I loop through a little square without looping through the entire length? Well, you want to start with the given value, I and j. So any value I and j, given that center coordinate, you want to be able to use those positions, all right? You don't need the hard numbers. You just need I and j to determine whatever is around I and j, to get those values, to add it to the sum, which you would return once you do that click. Okay, so I'll work with you guys in the breakout rooms. Don't worry if it's still confusing. All right, what I want you guys to do now is just start copying and pasting the code, and then we'll walk through this as many times as we need. Okay, so I'll be jumping around between groups. Again, like I said, this one is especially challenging. Okay, not many groups figure this out. Sometimes only 1 in 5 groups figure it out. That's okay. This is meant to be a workout, not something that you always complete. Okay, so we're just getting ourselves acquainted here, but I'll be super happy if at least one group figures this out. Okay, so let's go ahead and break out into groups. I know there's probably plenty of questions, but I'll go ahead and answer those when I see you guys working. Okay, I'll be dropping in your groups and giving you guys hints. Okay, I'll give you as many hints as necessary. Sometimes I have to give you the answer, but this one's tough. All right, so let's have fun though. And any questions anyway? Anyone have any questions? No? Okay, let's get started. All right, we are back to recording. So, did any group get close to getting a solution? Anyone get close?
I would say Kai, Anthony, and I did.
Okay, did you want to share your screen with us?
Sure. I will start by saying it doesn't work, or at least it shouldn't work, if you select one of the ones on the corner or the edge.
Okay.
We didn't get that far.
Okay, but it works otherwise, and that's good. So could you explain your solution so far?
Sure. So we had nested for loops. So essentially we're given I and J. And just while we were working through it, we just said, okay, what's going to be easiest is if we just select 1, 1. And in our minds, we'll just use that as like our box at the beginning. So what we came up with is you need to add 0, 0, I wrote it down, 0, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, and then 2, 0, 2, 1, and then 2, 2.
Okay.
So in the for loops, we had var h equals -1, while h is less than 2, and then h plus plus, and then the same thing, but with just a different variable k. So then we went through and we said, okay, well, for the array, the dojo, which is what it was called, take I, which is the one that they selected, and add h. And because h starts at -1, it now has the 0. And then also do the same thing for j, which will take it to 0, 0. Then the next for loop, it would go 0, 1, and then 0, 2. And then once this for loop's done, it goes back to this for loop, which then adds 1 to h. So now h is 0. So now you're staying on the current line, going through that for loop. And then once again, when that's done, you're now adding 1 to j and going through this line.
Okay. Nice.
Now, so yeah, why it doesn't work on the corners and the edges is because well, we didn't get that far to write the code to prevent it from doing that.
Okay. Well, it looks like you're like 90% there. Now you just need to account for those edge pieces, right?
Yeah.
Because whenever, what happens when you click on the edge? What kind of values do you get?
We literally just saw that it was working for the other spots, and we didn't try the edge yet.
Okay, so let's do we have a console log for the edge? Let's see what happens.
Well, so the
Yep.
edge. There
Yep.
you go.
You see how some of them are undefined or
Yeah.
not a number?
Yeah.
So what you can do is write that if statement that before you add, can you go back to your code? Write an if statement that checks for undefined values.
Okay.
Basically, you're going to write a statement in this for loop saying, if it's not equal to undefined, then we want to add to total ninjas, right?
Okay,
So,
that makes sense.
yeah, go ahead and you can write it now. Maybe now's a good time to ask Narciso if he knows. Narciso, can I bother you with the question?
Yes, sir.
You remember how you showed us how to use that emit wrap with abbreviation for HTML? Is there a shortcut to wrap with an if statement?
No, you got to write it if you do. Yeah, you can
Darn.
write one.
Okay. It'd be so cool if they had that tool for us.
I'll show you how to write one later.
The if statement, you mean? Like
Yeah, a wrapper for JavaScript.
oh, okay. I thought you said there wasn't one. Oh, okay.
You can write one.
All right. Oh, I see. I see.
Bro. Oh, it didn't work on that corner. Works
No.
on the edges. Sweet.
Oh, it works. It doesn't work on the top line or the bottom line either.
So what happens when you console log and with this if statement? What did we get when we get the corner pieces?
Oh, so cannot read properties of undefined. So we're trying to read a property of 6 of undefined.
Oh,
so it's
right.
not the value that's undefined, it's the
Oh, it's
dojo
the
that's
position.
undefined.
Oh, I mean, wouldn't it? You could do something like, I mean, this would be kind of cheap, but
So yeah, get rid of everything in there except for the word undefined.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. In the one you were writing. Yeah, so get rid of everything except for the word undefined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then keep your exclamation point. So if it's not undefined.
Oh. Sorry, if what's not undefined.
Oh, right. So the dojo, if the dojo is not undefined, because that's what was erroring out. It couldn't get property 6 of undefined. Right? There's no. Yeah, so get rid of the I plus H in the brackets. So just be the dojo does not equal undefined. And then put that whole other if inside. Yeah. Give that a whirly gig. No.
That's okay, guys. We're so close. We're near the end to this solution, but we have to close out now, or else we'll be late to meeting John's class. So you guys are so close. We have the solution on recording, so you can use this for the rest of the day, other groups, if you're interested, to find this solution, okay?
Okay.
So great job, guys. Proud of all of you. I saw that you guys all had that logic worked out, and that was the key. That was the key. So creating that inner for loop to loop through that inner square, okay? Now we just want to count for the edge cases, the corners and the edges, all right? So you guys did great. Let's continue to work on this today, but we have to close out now. So great job, guys. All right, so let me stop this recording and I'll have this up. We're being rated, yes. So let's go ahead and join the
We're being rated.
You're still